Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter! Tiny claps. Likes books. And today I am doing a book tag. It has been, I cannot even remember the last time that I did a book tag on here. And I was just sitting around and I was like, I want to do a book tag today. So I literally went into my search engine on YouTube and I searched original book tags 2019, and the first one that came up was actually, somebody had tagged it because it wasn't the original, but I went to the original, which was posted on May 22nd, 2019, and it is by Tia and all the books. I will link her channel below. Go check her out, and I will link the original video. And it is called the Book Snob Book Tag Original. And I'm going to go through here. I kind of skimmed the questions, but I'm just going to go through here and read it and have a little discussion with you guys about, am I a book snob, I guess? No, it's about other little things, about the booktube community and certain genres and things like that. And I thought, you know, this is a really good book tag. So it's kind of different than other book tags. Usually when I do book tags, you know, it'll be like a specific book that they want you to answer, you know. And I've done a book tag, a couple book tags on, I made two original book tags on my channel. I did the booktuber book tag, I think, which is where you had to like pick out all these people. And that was like one that I did. And then I did a book scavenger hunt. That was so much fun to come up with. I did that at the library. I had a great time doing that. So maybe this summer I'm like stuttering today. I don't know why. Maybe this summer I'll come up with a couple more book tags because they're really fun to create. But today's is by Tia, and it's called the Book Snob Book Tag. So let's get right into this. It is 7 questions. Number 1, adaptation snob. Do you always read the book before you see the movie? No, I don't always read the book before I see the movie, but I will tell you this. I would say 80 to 90% of the time, I hold off from seeing a movie until I've read a book, if it's a book that I really, really want to read. Because if I see the movie, I probably won't read the book afterwards. I have heard that the series Crazy Rich Asians is fantastic, the book series. I think there's 2 or 3 of them now in the series, and I really want to read them. And I think it's by Kevin Kwan. I have the first one on Audible downloaded, and I haven't listened to it because it's really long. But Mel from my book club, she's the co-director from Peter's book club, which is listed below if you want to be part of our book club. She read the book and she said it was fantastic, and she just watched the movie recently. So I'm thinking like I want to do that. But often if I'm going to read a book, I don't want to watch the movie because I don't want it ruined for me. There are very few adaptations that I think are better than the movie. I mean, really, there aren't that many that gave me the same thing. I think there are some that hold up to it, you know, like I loved reading The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I thought the movie was fantastic as well, but I don't think it was as good as the book, you know? And people are always like, well, it never is. I will disagree with you. My all-time favorite movie of life and book is To Kill a Mockingbird, and I like the movie better than the book, and it reminds me a lot of being a kid, and I think Mary Badham, who played Scout in it, was fantastic. She goes around, she lectures about Harper Lee now at universities and high schools. So, you know, for me, like, that movie was better than the book. There's been a few movies that I thought were better than the book. I thought they brought the book to life in a way that I didn't really visualize when I was reading the book. So, I don't know, there's been a couple others. But, you know, then I'm always kind of disappointed. Like, I thought The Hate You Give, the movie, was fantastic, but I didn't think it held a candle to the book at all. You know, I thought the book was so much better than the movie. And it's typically like that for me. You know, like, I'll go and I'm let down. It was interesting because my husband and I, we went and saw Paper Towns. And I thought it was horrible because I loved that book. It's actually my favorite John Green book next to The Fault in Our Stars. And he loved it. He thought it was great. And I was like, really? You think it was great? He was like, yeah. But he didn't know anything about it, you know? So it's always interesting when we go to books or movies that have been adapted from books, because he'll like a movie that I'm like sitting there. And if you're like me and you're, you know, obviously if you're watching this, you're probably a huge reader, you know, and you're picking everything out. Or you're thinking to yourself, this is about to happen, or this is about to happen. And then when it doesn't, you're let down, you know? Okay, Number 2, format snob. You can only choose one format in which to read books for the rest of your life. Which one do you choose? Physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? Hands down, audiobooks. I love physical books, and at any given time, I am typically reading an ebook, listening to an audiobook, and reading a physical book. I have 3 that I'm reading right now. I'm reading Helter Skelter, The Witch's Sister, and The Quickie by James Patterson, because I'm doing a James Patterson read-along this summer. Which we're going to get to that in just a second, because that kind of goes into one of the questions. I don't, like, the reason I would pick audio is because I just get so excited being on Audible, and, like, I know I used to use Overdrive from the library, but I love Audible so much, and I just love to listen to somebody read to me. I don't know what it is about that. I mean, my mother did it to me when I was, like, growing up. She read books to me, and my dad would read books to me when I was a little kid, and I think it's part of that. My mom and I would sit, and we would, like, have a book, and we would read it back and forth. There's just something to me about that, and some of the books that I have listened to on audio, and I know a lot of people out there do not consider listening to an audiobook reading, and I don't really care. I read for enjoyment. I don't read to get some gold star. I don't. So if you don't consider audiobooks reading, hey, more power to you. Some of the books that I listen to on audio, I think are better because I listen to them on audio than they would be if I read them. Recently, what was the book I read? Sadie was so fantastic. The audio version was so fantastic that I almost questioned, I think by Courtney Summers, I almost questioned, because it reads like a podcast. And it is a podcast, like the way that, how they format it. I don't know if the book was like that necessarily, but I think it was, because I've talked to somebody else that has read it. But the thing is I don't know how it would play out in a physical form. Like, it almost felt like it was made for an audiobook, And then, there are a lot of books that are coming out that are exclusively for audio, like Paul Holes, who was the investigator on the Golden State Killer. He came out with the Audible exclusive called Evil Has a Name, which is fantastic. Oh my God, it's so good. If you read I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara, my favorite book of last year, the follow-up to that is Paul Holes, who was the investigator that retired from the case right before the case was solved, the day before the case was solved. It's his book, and it is fantastic, and it has, like all of these interviews from the victims and the victims' families and investigators, and it's just super interesting, and it wouldn't have been the same way had you read it. It just wouldn't have. And I can get a lot more done, too, when I'm, like, listening to a book on audio, because I'm, like, cleaning and, doing stuff around the house. 3, ship snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? Yeah, my husband doesn't read, and I have to tell you, he tricked me. Straight up tricked me. When we started dating, we would go, like on a Sunday, we would go out to brunch, or a Saturday or whatever, and afterwards, it's a place that we have gone to brunch, I mean, literally for years, okay? It's right around the corner from Barnes & Noble, which is not my favorite bookstore anymore. I prefer to go to, like, thrift stores, charity shops, and half-price books is my favorite bookstore. I also love to order books online. So, anyway, after we would go to brunch, I would say, hey, can we go to the bookstore? And he'd be like, yeah, I love the bookstore. And we would go to the bookstore, and he would wander around, and he read a lot of books when we first got together. He likes memoirs. He read literally everything by Augustin Burroughs. This is like one of his favorite authors. He loves Chelsea Handler's writing, so he read all of her books, and he read Tucker Max's books, like I Hope They Serve Beer and Hell. Those are the kind of books that my husband likes, so those funny memoirs. But then it kind of stopped, and people will give him books. Like, I don't know who that book is by, that Blank book that everybody says you have to read, like if you're in business and stuff, That book literally has collected dust next to his bed, I'm telling you, for probably 2 years straight. So, no, it doesn't really bother me that he doesn't read. I think that in marriage and in relationships, like, I used to think that the perfect partner would be somebody that reads everything that I love to read and whatever, But it's not about that. Like, I think sometimes it's about, like, sharing those things with each other. Because, like, when we go out to brunch or dinner now, like, I'll tell them about, like, right now I'm reading, you guys are going to think I'm crazy. If you don't know about my book club, we're doing a year of true crime. But right now I'm reading, listening to Killer Clown about John Wayne Gacy. And so last night at dinner, I was telling him all about Killer Clown. He was real interested in it, And he's really excited about electronic dance music, and so he'll tell me a lot about that. And I think sometimes, it's great to have your own interests in a relationship, and it works for us. I don't know, I think I was more bothered by the idea of him not reading than him not reading, if that makes sense. Like, it really doesn't matter when it comes right down to it. Okay. Number 4, genre snob. You have to ditch one genre. I want to say this though, okay? Those dates that we would go on for brunch and then go shop for books afterwards were always a lot of fun. Like, so there is something about dating somebody that likes to read too, you know, but I don't know, we've been together this long, it doesn't really matter. And I'm kind of like really like protective of my reading now. It's like my private thing that I want to do, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we watch TV shows and movies together, we go out to dinner, we travel together and things like that. And like he knows when we're on vacation, if I really get into a book, it's like, he's like listening to music all day long. So, but yeah. Okay, number 4, genre snob. You have to ditch one genre, never to be read again for the rest of your life. Which one do you ditch? You know, when I started this channel 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I would have very, very quickly said like fantasy, like young adult fantasy. I don't know that I can say that today. Like, I have started to read some fantasy and world building kind of thing. I don't know what is considered necessarily, but like, you know, halfway through the Harry Potter books. And I just finished The Devouring Grey. And I've read some Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo and Cinder by Marissa. I mean, I've read some really great fantasy books that I wouldn't say they changed me as a person, but I'm really happy that I read them and I really enjoyed, you know, reading them, that I would be sad if I hadn't. And so it wouldn't be fantasy. I don't know what it would be like. I wouldn't get rid of nonfiction. I think that of any genre, if I ever had to read anything, a textbook. I am so glad to be done with school and far from it. You know what I mean? Like, I loved being in school, and I can remember, like, when I got done with school, kind of being like, I can't believe it's over, you know, and maybe I want to go take some more. No, I don't want to take any more classes. I'm done with school. I don't read Westerns. Like, I'm doing the Goodreads reading challenge. I actually did a video about it if you want to go check it out. And there's one of the questions on there is you have to read a book from a genre you've never read before. I don't know that I've ever read like a true science fiction book, you know, like Star Trek or something like that, like in that series. And I think I'm going to pick like a graphic science fiction, like not a graphic novel, but like those old, like the, you know, the ones you can get from like the 60s or the 70s. At Half Price Books, they have those vintage paperbacks. I'm thinking about getting one of those of science fiction or Westerns and reading it for the Goodreads challenge. But Westerns or science fiction, I think, is probably what I would never read again. Okay, number 5, uber genre snob. You can only choose to read from one genre for the rest of your life. Which genre do you choose? That's so hard. When I started BookTube, I exclusively pretty much read contemporary young adult. And I didn't even know at the time what contemporary young adult was. I didn't know what any of these genres were. I mean, to me, genres were fiction and nonfiction. True story. Like, I didn't even know. I mean, I would go to people's, I didn't even know what Goodreads was a month, 2 months before I started on BookTube. I really didn't. And now it's my favorite social media app or platform. But, you know, it's interesting because, like, I would go into people's, like, bookshelves on Goodreads and they would have, like, you know, contemporary young adult romance. I didn't know what any of those things were, you know, like magical realism, which I don't even know to this day that I think I do. I think I understand magical realism. But, you know, like, I didn't understand. But the thing is, today, I waver between you know, contemporary young adult and literary fiction, right in the middle somewhere, and I would not give up true crime for anything. I think if I was going to only read, this is so crazy, but after having done 6 months of true crime, I think if I was going to only listen or only read, listen to one genre for the rest of my life, I think I would pick true crime. I really do. It's just so fascinating to me. I mean, it's really, really fascinating to me. Plus, it's like the only genre that, like, I read something and then I'm like, I'm reading Helter Skelter too, did I say that? And then, like, I fall down the rabbit hole of watching other YouTube videos, interviews about these people and stuff like that. I thought this was going to be a short book tag, and it's become long. So, number 6, community snob. Which genre do you think receives the most snobbery from the bookish community? I don't know necessarily what that means. I mean, I think definitely the BookTube community primarily primarily reads young adult. I think everybody knows that, and I think that if you don't read young adult, you're probably not one of those, you know, top 20 channels in the BookTube community. I think, though, like, over time, that's really changed a lot. I don't know. I see people reading all kinds of different things. You know, mystery thrillers have been really big, I would say, in the last year. And I think that new readathons, like Spookathon, has really, like, helped with that. You know, and, like, what was the other one? Half Halloween-a-thon, and, you know, all these readathons, Diversathon. I think the different readathons really help people kind of diversify their reading, so to speak, and not be just snobbish about a certain thing. But when I started, it was definitely, I mean, it was heavily, you know, loaded with young adult. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what I would say. Number 7, snobbery recipient. Have you ever been snubbed for something that you have been reading or for reading in general? I've never been snubbed for reading in general. And in fact, the majority of the people in my life, other than, I just found out, this was so weird. My cousin, we're really close. And at her son's graduation, we were talking. And we went have pizza at her house afterwards. All of us were sitting around talking, and we were talking. All of a sudden, she said something about this book, and I was like, I just bought that book the other day, and she was like, oh my God, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And I go, Caroline, you read? And she goes, all the time. And I go, seriously? And she's like, yeah, I love to read. And her son was sitting there. I mean, we're really close. I had no idea that she read, right? So my cousin Caroline, my best friend Tanya reads, but we read completely different things unless it's like, you know, Into the Water or what Gone Girl, those kinds of things. We read all those together. Or we're both sober in recovery, so we'll read recovery memoirs, a lot of us. I've never been snubbed for reading. In fact, my friends are always like, whenever I talk about a book, they're like, I should read more, and then I feel bad about talking about a book. You know, I'm like, well, yeah, you probably should. I mean, it would like, and I don't feel like that, like I'm looking down on them. I'm just like, I can't imagine people like not want, I mean, I've said it to my husband. I don't know. You know, I'm always kind of like, you sure you don't want me to get you a book? I'm going to the bookstore. He's like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I just, like, here's the thing. I am so in love with reading books. I don't care if somebody doesn't want to read, okay? I don't think it enriches you as a person necessarily. I don't think it makes you more intelligent. I don't think any of that kind of stuff. I just can't imagine my life without books. Like, I just really can't. I love books so much. I just can't imagine my life without books. So, no, but I've never really been snubbed for reading. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I'm going to be 47 next week. Next Saturday is my birthday. So maybe when I was younger, but I don't think so. When I was in high school and junior high, reading was kind of a really big thing. Like, people really were into it. And I think we're seeing a resurgence of that again today, which I'm so thankful for. Now, I will tell you what I thought. I had talked about in a video how I used to read a lot of James Patterson books back in the day. I started with Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider when his writing was good and not formulated. But I said in there that, like, I missed just going and getting his books at the grocery store, you know, at the Kroger after work, and then coming home and just devouring a James Patterson book. And it was really mindless escapism to some degree. And I missed that, right? So I said that I was going to start a readathon or a read-along where I'm reading 2 James Patterson books a month till whenever we finished his books, but he puts out 5 books a month or 10, so we'll probably never finish, right? And, but you know when he passes away, it's going to be like that V.C. Andrews thing. They're going to say that, like, you know, he's got 100 books written, ready to go, because it's all just a business at this point. And I don't really care. And this month it's been fun kind of reading some of his books, you know, but I have to tell you how many people, when I said that, were like, I love James Patterson's books. They're easy reads. They're easily available. This video's gone too long. You know, you can get them all. You can go into any thrift store and you see 10,000 James Patterson books, you know? So they're easy to get, you know, they're easy to read. They're not super deep. You can leave them off. They're like 3 pages a chapter, if that. Some chapters are a page, you know? It's just real easy to read. And I thought people would be like, okay, you're not a real reader because you're, and I hate when people say you're not a real reader. Listen, I don't care if you listen to a book. I don't care if you read an ebook. I don't care if you, what you do, okay? I don't care if you read comics, cartoons, graphic novels, picture books, whatever you do, okay? If you pick up some form of reading and it's enjoyable to you, you're a reader, okay? Period, end of story. Don't let anybody ever judge you for that. And I will say that is the one thing I have been snubbed about, is people saying that audiobooks are not books. And I just totally disagree. And like I said, I don't really care because it's how I enjoy, you know, reading. But I'll get that a lot from people. They'll be like, oh, well, you don't really read books, you listen to books. And I'm like, I do both. But yes, I really do read a book. I mean, you know. So anyway, I have gotten a little bit of that. But from the James Patterson stuff, I thought I would, and I totally didn't, you know. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. And so many people were like, I love his books. But this is a really good tag. I'm not going to tag anybody. Did she mention me in here? No, she probably don't even know. She's probably like, who are you? I've never even heard of you in my entire life. But she did say, and anyone else who would like to do this tag, please feel free to do it. And then let me know in the comments so I can watch your video. Thanks for watching. Let's get nerdy. Okay, well, I am going to tag her in this, and I'm going to probably call it Am I a Book Snob? Book tag or something like that. And, yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you in my, everybody should, it was a good tag, wasn't it? It was really fun to talk about it. So anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.